Okay. Oh, okay.
Recording has started. This meeting is now being recorded. You will now rejoin the meeting.
All right, Peter, you may take it away.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining this morning. I think our first issue for the governance committee this morning are the minutes of the last meeting.
Yeah.
So I guess first I am calling the meeting to order and then a review of the minutes of the June 9th meeting. Is there any questions? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Pete, go up to make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Pete. Second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Great. We have a program request here for the GREs, the economic gardening, which is something that we've participated in historically. And I don't know who wants to run through this.
Actually, Peter.
Governance.
Yep.
Oh.
So.
I'm on the wrong sheet.
That's all right. So we're item 3 on the governance agenda.
Yeah, if I just correct that, those were the minutes of the July 14th meeting.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we have
Zach here, right?
Zach's actually not on the phone, honey.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
We do have a restated certificate of incorporation for MCIDC, and I don't know if you or Rachel, I don't know who's going to walk us through.
I'll just introduce it, and then Rachel can dive into more of the details, if that's okay, Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
We are proposing amending our bylaws such that we would be adding extra jurisdictional capabilities in our SBA 504 loan portfolio and some other activities, and adjusting the mission statement to reflect the same. So Rachel, can you kind of go over that?
I'll start, and then I guess, Lydia with the SBA, if you want to add any commentary. So the reason that we're looking at this is twofold. First, we received an inquiry from a health system to issue a large amount of bonds for projects in multiple counties, and they'd like to use one issuer. They ultimately could go to DASNY, but would rather use a local issuer. And because the bulk of the bond proceeds would be in Monroe County, the proposal is to use MCIDC as the single issuer. And in order to do so, we would need to amend our certificate of incorporation, bylaws, and mission statement. And so that's what the changes that you have in front of you. Frankly, it's adding a couple words in each, 3 words in each of the documents in various places to state that your activities will be for the benefit of Monroe County and its surrounding counties. So those changes carry through the certificate of incorporation, the bylaws, and the mission statement. And this also gave us an opportunity to expand our SBA abilities into extra jurisdictional areas where those neighboring counties don't have a certified development corporation company like MCIDC. So it was an opportunity to expand our powers to a regional approach. So the changes were sent out 10 days ago to you in accordance with the bylaws, and we're reviewing them at the governance committee. In addition, the county executive, as the sole member of MCIDC, needs to approve these changes as well. And once both the county executive and the board are comfortable in assuming approval, we would submit these changes to the New York State Attorney General's office. Because we are amending a power of MCIDC, it requires Attorney General approval. So that's the summary. Lydia, add a little bit of color on MCI or on the SBA portion of it.
Yes. So, a number of years ago, the SBA regulations changed, federal regulations that allowed all CDCs to operate statewide, actually. And we had not amended our bylaws at the time because it wasn't our intent to do so. Seemed like at this point it's an appropriate time to do it since we have this potential bond issue available and we need to make the changes. Also, there has been some interest historically with other counties for us to take a look at 504s, especially on the smaller side, because the other entities that are doing those, you know, they're just looking for servicing that's closer to home, so to speak. So, you know, those are opportunities for us, not necessarily immediately, but at some future dates.
The other change, so that's the extra jurisdictional changes, and then the other changes that we're proposing to the bylaws are to make a bit more clear the powers of the loan committee to provide credit approval for loans up to $2 million, but for loans between $1 and $2 million, the board must ratify the loan committee's action prior to closing or debenture funding. And only the board may provide credit approval for loans greater than $2 million. This has been in our bylaws, but it wasn't entirely clear, and frankly, it was just a little more wordy than it needed to be. So since we were working on the extra jurisdictional amendments, we took the opportunity to make very clear what the loan committee could do and track the language with the Code of Federal Regulations exactly without taking any liberties with the language. So that change is also reflected in the materials sent out.
Rich, I got one question. Where it says the expanded territory surrounding Monroe County, how far does that go?
We're looking at our economic development region, which is traditionally defined for the bond purposes as the 9-county region. And in order to be able to issue bonds outside of Monroe County, you have to be able to draw a nexus for tax regulation analysis purposes, federal tax regulations. You need to be able to draw a logical nexus between Monroe County and the projects that are outside of it. And in order to, for example, the potential bond project is a health system headquartered in Monroe County that has operations, facilities and hospitals outside of Monroe County, but are all controlled by the larger system headquartered. So their either headquarters are here, their employment are here. So it's not a carte blanche ability to issue bonds outside of the county. You have to be able to connect the projects outside of the county with the county.
This is Pete Corey. You know, from a regional standpoint, the Department of Labor, I thought economic development, the Finger Lakes region was defined, I thought, as a 10-county region. But I think the first 9 counties or 10, it doesn't really matter. I think the regional approach is what the state has been trying to push for a long time. You know, we've done some, we've had some initiatives with, that's not mine, Doug. We've had some initiatives with MCC that are also have been regional, as a matter of fact, even statewide. So I'm really in favor of this because from a regional standpoint, this is the way we should be functioning.
Pete, the Department of Labor set that boundary because it's technically the labor shed of the region. And I believe the 10-county region is how the tourism like I Love New York defines the Finger Lakes region as being 10 counties, but the Department of Labor and Empire State Development define us as 9.
Okay, that's fine.
But yeah, it's a point well made of, a regional approach to economic development. I think it's important to note that Monroe County is looking to work in partnership with our neighboring counties on the proposed bond issuance. And to do that, the proposal would be to split the issuer fee amongst the
Joining the
counties.
meeting.
Hi, who just joined?
I need again. I got cut off.
Okay. We were just, Hanif, talking about how this would allow us to take a regional approach to economic development. And the other point I was making was that, what was the other point I was making?
Oh,
the fee.
Like a fee sharing?
Thank you. Yes, geez, Monday morning. That each county will get its proportional fee, its pro rata fee based on the par amount. So if there's $10 million worth of bonds issued in Genesee County, for example, the fee would be split accordingly. We want to make sure that it's not Monroe County stepping in and issuing bonds to the detriment of our neighboring counties, but rather in partnership. And while we will serve as the issuer, we will not get more issuer fee than is applicable to the amount of bonds issued in Monroe County.
This is Ella. I had another question along those lines. With respect to projects other than bond issuances, though, is there a concern that, it will be seen that Monroe County is becoming now competitive with the adjacent counties, local development corporations, or do we not intend to use this authority to make loans, in counties that we could by virtue of this expanded authority, but we won't, except for, these kind of situations, like the bond issuance one, where there is some kind of nexus with,
Right.
need to do this?
Well, from the SBA standpoint, I think, as I said, historically, we have had some requests to do loans in outlying counties or neighboring counties, and we've not been able to do it. And that's typically at the request of the bank. We would definitely introduce this, and there's been some conversation, I believe, with neighboring counties already, just to say, we also could do some cost sharing or revenue sharing. I don't see us doing this right away because there are staffing issues, I believe, in terms of getting, everything done promptly for everyone. But I think this is the time to make it available under our bylaws. And I think it's a good approach to look at everything in a kind of global sense.
Joining the meeting.
Zach Phillips.
Hi, Zach.
Do we know has Erie County done something similar to this, or are we kind of one of the first counties to take this more regional approach? Just curious.
With the SBA or in general, Ella, or
in general? Yeah.
I can't speak to Erie County. What I will tell you is that traditionally entities like MCIDC are set up with these extra jurisdictional powers. That being said, MCIDC was incorporated in 1962. And over the years, we've done amendments to make MCIDC an on behalf of issuer. With our other clients, the extra jurisdictional abilities we put in is a matter of course into their powers and their bylaws so that it can be done. I have worked on similar projects in other parts of the state, not in the Western or Finger Lakes region. And 3 years ago, Downstate County amended its bylaws, also an entity that had been formed earlier on in the LDC formation phenomena to be an extra-jurisdictional issuer. So in that instance, went through the same process of amending. So it is not an unheard of practice. And so I don't know about Erie County. I will tell you that with respect to this specific bond deal, because Harris Beach represents the other implicated counties and issuers therein, we've already had conversations with them to make sure that this is not going to be a problem, and they're fully on board and supportive.
Yeah, that's what I just wondered. Like, will this kind of, will processes need to be changed so that the other counties are aware and
Yeah, yes, they do have to be aware. One, because we want to be professional in our approach. Two, because we intend to fee share. And three, because under the federal tax regulations for the bonds, we need to get, how as we have the TEFRA hearing and TEFRA approval for bonds, you need to have the TEFRA approval per jurisdiction. So we'll need TEFRA approval in all implicated counties, and we'll need to have a public hearing. So we have to have the other counties on board and intend to do so. And so we've already started those conversations.
The other thing that I wondered about was you mentioned that it'll have to be brought in front of the New York State Attorney General's office, and I just wondered, will that allow the New York State Attorney General to scrutinize everything about MCIDC, and is there any concern about that?
No, in fact, we've worked with the Harris Beach Public Finance has worked with the Attorney General's office on changes like this quite frequently. They focus just on the changes, and they've been very helpful. In fact, they offer quite frequently to review the proposed changes even before we formally submit, to make sure that everything is in an alignment so that they can streamline the approval. So while it can take some time because it's just not a high priority item for the Attorney General's office, it's also not something that's met with any scrutiny. It's a routine procedure.
Okay, great, thanks.
Sure.
Do the other counties each have a like entity, like MCIDC in their county? Or
yes, they do. Each do. Each also were formed in the 2009-2010 time period in great haste, and none of them have the extra jurisdictional authority. So it's not as if there's one out there that could do this and we're jumping in. And none of the issuers implicated by the bond deal have the ability to do it, but they all have like entities for bond issuing purposes, not necessarily for SBA 504 purposes.
okay.
Many of those smaller counties just they don't have the staff support that we have. They have an entity, but I think that looking at us as a lead because of our expertise is something that's I've seen in other type of proposals and initiatives.
That's right. It's a twofold issue, really. It's one, less frequent issuers. The other two of the other potential issuers have one outstanding bond deal each. The other has 2 or 3. And again, the majority of the bond proceeds on this particular bond issuance, nearly 80%, I would say roughly, are for facilities located in Monroe County. So it makes most sense. And it's the borrower's preference. The borrower requested that MCIDC be the issuer.
Okay, makes sense. So we would bring this to the board next week?
Tomorrow, actually.
or I'm sorry, tomorrow.
Yes.
Not that we would do it in the document, but can we just kind of like, at least verbally, kind of enumerate what those counties are? I know there's 9.
Yeah, it's Genesee,
Pretty sure I can guess, but just to clarify.
Genesee, Livingston, Ontario, Orleans, Yates, Seneca, Wayne, and Wyoming.
And yeah, that's exactly right. And for the purposes of the bond issuance, the counties are Wayne, Livingston, Genesee, and Monroe.
And so how would you do that without getting too deep in the weeds? Do you do the fee sharing based on kind of use of proceeds, or is it just like a 4 counties divided by 4?
No, it would be based on use of proceeds. So the allocable share, their pro rata share. So we would take a look at the, we would intend to charge in a manner that MCIDC charges, because we all have different fee structures, right? So we'd have to probably do a fee negotiation, one at the outset, because like I said, the issuers have different fee schedules. And then we would allocate the fee as if that issuer had issued that portion of the bond. So we'll calculate each issuer will get their calculation based on par amount.
Okay. I guess the only other thing I'd just offer is, I don't really know the counterparts in all these counties, but I'd offer, you know, if you and Anna wanted to identify who they are and set up an introductory call, assuming that we approve this and go forward, just from a working standpoint.
Yeah.
It would make sense to me if we reached out and tried to explain what we were doing and kind of deal with any issues prior to, you know, you being at the closing table.
Sure. Well, yeah, we definitely have to before that. We've started the conversations. Harris Beach attorneys have had conversations with the executive director, so Anna's contemporary in each of the other jurisdictions, and they're on board. But a subsequent meeting amongst the chairs and the executive directors, I think would be a nice idea.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody else has other questions. I'll go back to Pete's initial comments. I'm very supportive, as he said, in a regional approach. It makes sense to me. Thanks for bringing up kind of the liability issues of if we expand our territory somewhat. And so if I just jump over to that SBA piece, so now if we are under $1 million, the loan committee has the approval authority. And maybe there's just some notice to the board.
Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. Because there's a bond resolution that's required for closing. So we would bring everything to the board. It's just within the SBA regs, we're just structuring our bylaws to reflect what the SBA regs say verbatim almost, I think.
Yes.
Okay. So up to $1 million is the loan committee. 1 to 2 million is the loan committee with ratification.
Correct. Yeah.
By the board, and then above 2 is the board.
Yes. Yes.
Got it. And any other questions, or are you looking for a motion to recommend this to the board?
Yes, we are looking for a motion to recommend these changes to the board.
Anyone seeking a motion to recommend the 17th amendment to our bylaws as discussed?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
A Second, Pete Peacock.
Thank you, Pete. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, well, see if we get it approved tomorrow.
Are you going to do each one individually? Was that, are you doing each one
Moving to
individually?
any other business that needs to be discussed?
That was just bylaws.
So the motion, Robin just pointed out that the motion was just to cover the bylaws. The motion actually needs to cover the certificate of incorporation, bylaws, and mission statement. So maybe just a clarification on the motion. That is everyone in agreement that the motion was intended to cover the certificate of incorporation changes, bylaws, and mission statement.
All in favor is amended.
Could you read it?
Yes. The mission of the Monroe County Industrial Development Corporation is to provide resources to qualified for-profit businesses and not-for-profit organizations that result in the retention and creation of jobs and employment opportunities in Monroe County and its surrounding counties. The "and its surrounding counties" is the proposed addition.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
All in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Okay, I think that will get us there to tomorrow.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Robin.
Any other business anyone has to bring forth? And what brings us to the good part of the meeting here. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Don't move.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Again, thank you for convening, and thank you everybody for attending.
So if you're
We'll be back at it.
participating in the executive committee meeting, we're going to close